From Chapter 7, Denial and Truth, The Fate of My Brother. What used to keep me up at night most often, what caused me the most regret and pain was the fact that I slept through Jeff's farewell. I only vaguely remember it now, my brother waking me up, telling me that I was free now. I remember feeling annoyed because, well, who enjoys being woken up in the middle of the night? I remember he told me that he loved me and that I was his best friend. I remember saying something like, "Love you too, let me go back to sleep," or something on that effect. When I woke up the next morning, I just got up and started my normal routine. It wasn't until I was walking down the stairs towards the kitchen that I realized that the house was too quiet. Our mother always had the television on in the living room during the day. It was almost 10 a.m. and the house was silent. It would still be another hour before I decided to open my parents' bedroom door. The rest of that week, it's still a blur in my mind. I remember the police arriving, my parents being taken out, wrapped in white sheets. I was sure that Jeff had been kidnapped by whoever murdered our parents. Of course, I remember him waking me up with his cryptic goodbyes. But when it's your brother, a trusted face you've known your entire life, it's not exactly easy to apply that person to murder. However, once the murder of Wilson took place, once the tabloids labeled him Jeff the Killer, well, by then it was pretty much impossible to deny. Once Monica Davenport released the Jeff tapes, well, denial was all I had left. After the murder of Keith and Troy though, well, that was it. Months rolled on into years, and pretty soon Jeff was becoming a forgotten entity. By then, I'd been moved from Louisiana. I had family in Texas, an aunt and uncle. They were very passionate. They understood what I've gone through and let me pretty much spend the next year healing. I can still remember sitting up in bed out there in Texas, feeling tears pooling in the corners of my eyes. My greatest fear was that perhaps Jeff was trying to find me, that he needed help. I pictured him waiting around our very short-living home in Mandeville, perhaps wondering where I was. Those sort of thoughts kept me up for most of that year. Sometimes a letter would come addressed to me out there in Houston. It would be forwarded from our old address. No return address as usual. I would get so excited as I tore open, convinced that Jeff had found a way to write me, to let me know that he was alive. When it turned out to be a piece of junk mail, just some advertisement designed to look like a real piece of mail, my heart would sink. And I'd feel regret creeping back in. Regret for not waking up and talking to Jeff on that night that he left. At the very least, I could have told him goodbye. "Jeff the Killer," Lane whispered, still holding up the scissors. Jeff looked down at Nancy, his face locked into a twisted mask of insanity, and drove the knife down towards her chest. "Go to sleep." "Shit! Fuck!" Jeff screamed, suddenly releasing the knife and letting it fall to the sofa. Lane looked over and saw that his mother had brought the point of her knee directly into the groin of her attacker. Jeff staggered back against the wall, gripping his crotch, while trying to still threaten both Nancy and Lane. What the intruder didn't account for was that Nancy Dermott spent the majority of her adult life married to a police officer. He dragged her to every self-defense course that he could. For years, the training was drilled into her. Always go for the soft parts, the eyes, the testicles, the throat. Jeff suddenly lunged, attempting to dodge around Nancy and grabbed the knife that he dropped during the initial kick. Lane was still frozen in place. For all the dark poetry and journal entries that he created, many detailed the way he'd like to exact revenge on those that didn't appreciate him, mostly girls and teachers. Now that he actually had the chance to stab someone, he found that he simply couldn't manage the act. Jeff grabbed for the knife, got one hand around the hilt, but never had the chance to brandish it. At the very moment that he awkwardly attempted to rotate the blade, Nancy brought her living room lamp down over her attacker's head. There was a grunt of pain as Jeff fell forward onto the sofa. The lamp shattered, but before Lane could blink, his mother grabbed the next closest weapon, the large crystal ashtray that sat upon their coffee table. She raised the object over her head and with a scream of rage smashed it over the young man's head, who moments before had her under what he believed to be complete control. "Oh God, Lane, are you alright?" Nancy shouted at her son. "Yeah, Mom. Are you?" Before she could answer, Lane began to move closer to the unmoving body on his living room sofa. "Stay back, Lane. He might get up." "Mom, I don't think he's getting up. Look." Lane pointed at the blood pooling beneath the still body on the couch. From the 2016 documentary, Jeff Woods, The Killer Speaks by Monica Davenport. Interview conducted with local Mandeville youths, addressing the cultural movement known as Jeff's Killers. Monica Davenport addresses the camera while standing outside of a small home that appears to be in rural Street Tammany Parish. "I am here on the outskirts of Mandeville, LA, where a group of high school-aged kids gather on a regular basis. What might be the purpose of the gathering? Well, they call themselves Jeff's Killers, and they view him as some sort of anti-hero, and many say that they are anxiously waiting the opportunity to meet him in person." The film cuts to a montage of various teenage participants, many with scars artificially decorated into the side of their faces, some with contacts giving one eye a cosmetically enhanced whiteness. All of the teens gave short answers, some just one word, others a short phrase, all the same message though. Jeff Woods. We're here to celebrate Jeff the Killer. The Killer. Always Jeffrey Woods, always. Why do you come out here to celebrate Jeffrey Woods? He's a serial killer. He murdered his parents. How do you find a hero in that? Girl 1. Jeff is like, he showed the world that he can do something about abuse. So many of us, we've grown up dealing with that stuff, and we can't do that shit. Jeff though, he did it. Guy 1. Yeah, Jeff Woods, you know, he was a nice guy. He tried so hard to turn the other cheek, and all of that crap they teach us in school. He did everything the way we are taught to do it. All the crap society tells us are the stepping stones to being a normal and happy person. For most of us, girl 2, cutting off the guy 1. For most of us, if it works out, great. You get to be a cheerleader or some crap. You get to march in the Labor Day parade. Whoa, Jeff though. All the lies they tried to tell us to be happy, well, he just snapped and did it his own way. Guy 2. No. Forget all of that shit. Jeff the Killer is fucking range turned all the way up. People out there, they see us walking around and they think we're freaks or they think we're weak. But Jeff the Killer showed the fucking world that you can only push someone so damn far. So keep pushing us, motherfuckers. Go ahead. Monica, addressing the group as a whole. Do you all believe that Jeffrey Woods could still be alive? And if so, what would you say to him if you had the chance? Various responses are shouted towards the camera. Hang Randy Raiden by his fucking balls. Burn this town down. Monica, speaking directly to a young man. And you? What would you say to Jeffrey Woods? Young man. I'd say, come hang out with us. Come show us how you managed to let go of all this shit holding you down all those years. We just want to be free. Just like you. Fucking freaks. The haggard-looking man mutters before dipping a glazed donut into his mug of cheap coffee. Although only in his early 40s, Detective Dalton Bradshaw of the Mandeville Police Department looked much older. His hairline had begun to retreat from his forehead a bit more each year. The 2 packs of Palmer Reds that he smokes between waking up at dawn and returning home oftentimes well after dark have done nothing to assist in preserving his once chiseled appearance. His teeth were now stained from the tobacco, his face bore wrinkles, and his eyes always looked exhausted, regardless of how much sleep he might enjoy the night before. He had been watching various clips from Davenport's documentary while waiting at the tiny and disgusting little table and donut joint for the better part of 2 hours. He'd actually been back at the police station packing his things to go home for the night when his watch commander had summoned him into his office. Apparently, a young man had broken into a residential and attempted to hold one of the occupants at knife point. The woman had fought back and the asshole died by his own blade. The woman and her kid were safe, and as far as Dalton was concerned, this shit could wait until the morning. Let the uniforms and the fucking coroner's people come out and clean up the body. This was Mandeville after all. Only one exciting thing ever happened out here, and that was 4 years ago. This guy was probably some meth head from out in the backwoods that was trying to score some cash to buy some dope. Then more information came in. That one exciting thing that happened 4 years ago in Mandeville, the only thing that could possibly keep Dalton on the clock and not at home, taking off his suit and climbing into a hot shower, just happened to be the one fucking thing that was lying in a pool of its own blood on Nancy Dermott's sofa. This crazy bitch thinks she killed Jeffrey Woods, Dalton asked his watch commander as he grabbed his notebook and slung on his sport coat. That crazy bitch just happens to be Nancy Dermott, as in an ex-wife of Paul Dermott, the same guy that was running favors for Maxwell Hayden. Relax, Captain. I'm just going over there. Going to do a nice little interview. Make sure the body gets moved and we can pick this up tomorrow. The hell we can, the captain replied in anger. I'm arranging for a specialist from Bolton Rogue to work with you on this. That is an order that came right down from the major's office. The guy's on his way right now. Just go and stuff donuts down your face at that little shit dive you like. The specialist will meet you there. Uniforms already have the scene under control. If we can move the body to the morgue without causing a scene, we will. I cannot stress this enough to you, Branshaw. This shit stays on a whisper. Wait, how the hell does the mayor's office know about this call already? How? The woman's jackass kid. That's how. Lane Dermott has been a pain in the ass for a while. He likes to post his little opinions about his school and the town all over the freaking official website of the city of Mandeville. The site admins block him for writing about all this Jeff Woods crap. They tell him it's a blacklisted subject, but then the little shit just goes and makes a new account and does it all over again. Anyway, while his mother was busy calling the cops, her 16-year-old idiot was busy photographing the body and posting a picture of it right there on the town's message board. The admins deleted the post, and we can only pray to God that they did so before anyone else saw it and copied it. The major sure as hell saw it though, and believe me, he's just looking for an ass to kick right now. And he thinks we need some sort of, what, expert on loonies and window lickers to come down here and tell us what a dead freak looks like? Dalton asked. I don't care what the mayor thinks, Bradshaw, but our chief of police does. So for right now, please, just go down there, drink your coffee, and wait for this guy to show up and meet you there. Then kindly go over to the scene of the crime and let this guy help you investigate it. And I can expect to go home when? The captain screamed harsh words of motivation towards Dalton Bradshaw in response to his question. And finally the overworked detective blotted out his car and climbed in. Once on the road, Dalton reached into his glove compartment and removed a small Ziploc bag containing about 8 small pills. Damn, I'm running a bit low, he stated with a frown, staring at the baggie. The pills were Adderall, although Dalton could not guess at the dosage or age of the pills. One of his on-again, off-again lovers, a woman would often ask Dalton to go over and scare her ex-boyfriend into paying her overdue child support. Had given them to him recently. They were her kids, but apparently the kid didn't like them. Said kid's mom, an occasional evening companion of Dalton's, believed that the detective could use a boost of energy, as, according to her, he looked like a reheated shit. He swallowed 2 of the pills, even though he knew he should try and stretch the few he had left out for another week or so. But for the time, he was more concerned about just staying awake tonight. If some suit from Baltimore Rogue were in fact coming to assist, this would not be a short evening to say the least. Dalton was pleasantly elevated as he sat at the coffee shop, feeling the artificial energy and euphoria from the pills start to gather in his brain and pulse behind his eyes. I don't know what the hell is wrong with Kinamari's kid. If he doesn't like this shit, he mumbled to himself as he clicked to play the next video from Monica Davenport documentary. From the 4th grade school project, Who is Your Hero? By Jeremy Lyman, Crestwood Elementary School, Baton Rouge, LA. My hero is my Uncle Simon. Uncle Simon works as a special kind of police officer who tries to arrest criminals who have already gotten away. His job is to study the clues and to try and find the bad people, even when no one else can find them. He keeps us safe. I'm going to go ahead and assume by the beard stubble and bloodshot eyes that you're Dalton Bradshaw, a voice suddenly spoke behind the detective as he was focusing on Davenport's film. Dalton looked up at the man addressing him. It would seem logical that this would be the specialist from Baltimore Rogue, but based on his appearance, Dalton almost had to second-guess himself. The man standing before him was a lot younger than he was expecting for starters. He estimated this guy's age couldn't be any older than 30, perhaps even younger. He was skinny, had a small goatee, and was dressing more for a day at the mall than a night investigating a murder. Do all special investigators walk around in jeans and t-shirts these days? Dalton asked without smiling. Sorry, dude. My boss had learned to accept it. I don't do suits unless it's a funeral or a wedding. My name is Simon, by the way. Or, if you want the official introduction, I am Agent Simon Lyman of the Unsolved Crimes Department of the Louisiana State Police. Dalton blinked and had to take a moment to compose himself, or else he feared he might laugh at this kid's face. Hold up, your name is Simon Lyman? Why would your folks do that to you? Oh, you misunderstand. My parents didn't name me Simon. They actually named me Salomon Lyman. I legally changed my first name to Simon when I turned 18. Why the hell would they do that? Duh, so it would rhyme. Dalton found himself chuckling, just a bit, in spite of how annoyed he was at the ever-increasing lateness of his workday. He realized that now, even if they wrapped up things in record time, he still wouldn't see the inside of his apartment until it was far too late to do anything other than go straight to bed. Well, we can get to know each other on the ride over there, Ryman Simon. I want to get home before sunrise though, so if it's all the same with you. Ryman Simon, hell yeah. See, that's why I changed my name. For shit like that. Dalton dropped a few dollars on the table to cover his food and coffee, and the 2 men left out for Nancy Dermott's house. The drive from the small coffee joint to the crime scene was less than 10 minutes. However, Dalton quickly learned that Simon was not the type of person who let time pass without a conversation. Okay, so I'm assuming you'll be playing the bad cop in this little investigation, right? He asked Dalton, a sarcastic tone lacing his words. Nope, I'll be playing the tired as hell cop who wants to go home. I tend to play that role every time my shift goes into overtime. And you're playing the what? Wise-ass CSI guy? CSI? No thank you. Too much blood and semen. I mean, who wants to spend all day studying blood samples? No, I'm on solved cases, remember? Yeah, well, I hate to tell you, kid, but this one is probably already solved. The damn intruder is dead. The woman already confessed to doing it, and her stupid kid posted a picture of the corpse to the fucking mayor's office. You might have wasted a trip down here. You really think that that body we're going to see is Jeff Woods himself? You think after 4 years of no activity, he's just going to show back up and get killed by some bored housewife? Dalton glanced at Simon and smirked. Personally, I don't care one way or the other. Jeff Woods, Tiger Woods, James Woods. I don't give a rat's ass so long as I am home within the next couple of hours. Really? You're not even a bit curious? I mean, Jeff the killer, right? Exciting stuff. Maybe to you and the rest of the world. I don't know. I was still with the NOPD when the whole thing happened here in 2015. I didn't transfer out of Mandeville until almost at the end of 2016. Sure, I read all about the incident when it took place, but these yuppie fucks out here will freak out over anything. In New Orleans, we will investigate several homicides a week just in my district alone. Some kid having a nervous breakdown and stabbing a few people doesn't exactly have the same impact when you work in a city where murders don't even make the front page anymore. Why do you leave New Orleans then? Look, Simon, I am sure you're a nice guy, and I bet all of your co-workers love you, but let's just stay on track here. If this case turns into a longer ordeal, I am sure we'll find all the time in the world to tell war stories, but for now, let's just focus on the task at hand. With that said, they rode the last few blocks in relative silence. Dalton only spoke again when they arrived at the scene. We're here. Now listen, I am not sure if you know this or not, but Nancy Dermott's husband was somewhat tied into the whole Jeff Woods fiasco, so try and avoid making any stupid jokes. Trust me, Dalton, I know all about Paul Dermott and his ties to Maxwell Hayden. I've read Leo Wood's book and all of the other seedy little secrets that had been published, and a few that haven't. The two men walked up to Dermott's front door, where a uniformed officer who looked to be about 21 years of age was standing. The officer began addressing Dalton as he approached. Paramedics moved the body to a stretcher, and I think the CSI people are just about done. There was apparently a brief struggle, but the intended victims really did a number on the guy. Outstanding police work, Junior, Dalton responded, stepping around the cop and walking into the home. Bradshaw, you finally here to take over the scene or what? An older officer asked. Holy shit, Frank. Yeah, I'm here to take over the scene. Give me a briefing so you can get the hell home before you die from breathing. Frank, whose age and weight suggested that he might in fact have difficulties should he ever try to jog more than a few feet, waddled over to Dalton and began reading from a report form. Okay, the dead fuck is on his way to the morgue as we speak. The CSI determined he got in through the back door. What can I say? Folks out here never heard of locks or something. Intended victim was Nancy Dermott. Her son Lane Dermott witnessed the struggle and the death of the intruder, blah 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 boilerplate bullshit. Apparently 16-year-old Lane believes that the intruder is none other than Jeff Woods. The victims are in the back of the house right now. Nancy said she was sick of looking at the blood on her sofa. The morgue? I thought they were gonna leave the scene intact until I got here, Dalton stated. Yeah, Dalt. Orders were to keep this thing quiet. When they saw the chance to move the body without a lot of gawkers, they took it. Neighbors have been popping by every so often, knocking on the door, being noisy, typical shit. You got pictures of the intruder? Simon asked Frank in a casual tone. Who are you? The pudgy man asked in slight annoyance. I'm the president of the Dead Body Fan Club. Now, let me see this picture so we can kindly sign your report, and you can kindly head back to SeaWorld and get back in your tank. This fucking kid got a problem here, Dalt? Frank asked, turning his flushed face towards the detective. Relax, Frank. I am the one who has to work with him. He's from the state police, investigates unsolved cases or something. Just give me the pictures." Frank handed the pictures to Dalton, at which point Simon immediately snatched them away. He looked through them slowly at first, as Dalton joined in on the viewing, but as he progressed through them, he began to flip them over faster and faster. The collection of photographs ranged from close-ups of the intruder's face to shots of his corpse collapsed on the sofa. What information could be gathered on site by the CSI crew were all catalogued, such as height, estimated weight, etc. "Well, this isn't Jeff Woods, that's for sure," Simon stated with no doubt, handing the pictures to Dalton. "How can you be so sure?" "Well, the height is wrong first of all. This guy's taller. Jeff Woods stood 5'10" tall. Also, take a look at his clothing. If Jeff Woods really had been stalking the countryside out here for the last 4 years, I doubt he'd be wearing new clothes." Frank decided to chime in. "New clothes? Kid, are you blind? I saw those rags before. They zipped them up and held them down to the cold storage. His shirt and pants were practically falling apart." "Well, I'm sure your CSI crew will agree. Allow me to save them some time and break this down for you guys. The cuts on his clothing are clearly made with scissors. Clothes that rip on tree branches, for example, tend to be torn in rag fashion. These tears were done on purpose. Plus, the pattern of rips is far too intentional to be something caused by snagging branches. This guy was clearly attempting to create a custom of sorts. Plus, the shoes always give it away. He wants us to believe that he's been wearing the same stuff for so long that it's just falling apart. But his shoes are pretty good shape for what I can tell from the photos. Plus, he's wearing hiking boots. If he was really living off the land all these years, he'd take whatever kind of shoes he could get. Or maybe even still be wearing the ones he left home in. Instead, he's wearing a fairly new looking pair of shoes that just happens to be perfect for escaping into the woods after he murdered a couple of people. Kid, you know he could have gotten new clothing along the way, or something. It's not that hard to break into a store and... Simon interrupted Frank before he could finish. Sure, maybe. However, if you look at the picture of the perp's face, you'll clearly see that his scar is mirroring a bit. Now, I'm no dermatologist, but in my experience, scars don't start to streak when you sweat. Also, that's clearly a contact lens in his eye. Dalton couldn't help but chuckle at this exchange. Frank Laundrie had developed the reputation of being a bit of a bully over the years, especially to the new recruits. Watching this skinny kid talk to him like he's an idiot was good for a laugh or two. An hour later, Simon and Dalton were driving to the morgue to see the corpse that was causing such a stir. They've interviewed both Nancy and Lane Dermott, and were not surprised to find that there wasn't much to be gained besides a rehearsing of what they already knew. "You were a little harsh on that kid, don't you think?" Simon asked as they drove. "That fucking kid is an idiot, posting that damn picture for the world to see." "Agreed, but did you really have to threaten to skull drag him? Or so you put it?" "Lane Dermott needs to have a little understanding that he isn't above shit. Since his father split down, he's used that as an excuse to do whatever he wants. His mother clearly is too worn out to fix his ass. Plus, if that picture gets leaked around, you Mandeville types are really afraid of exposure, aren't you?" "Personally, I don't give a damn," Dalton corrected. "But the old heads here, yeah, they hate it. Before Jeff Woods decided to go on a killing spree, Mandeville was advertised as the kind of place where you could sleep with your doors unlocked at night. But really, I think it was all the corruption that was uncovered that freaked them out. A murder that can be explained away as just a crazy bastard being crazy, but all the cover-ups, that was bad. Well, Maxwell Hayden didn't exactly do himself any favors with the bribes. He certainly didn't do his son any favors either. Randy Hayden may have escaped Mandeville alive, but from what I've heard, even Whitborough couldn't protect his reputation.